Well, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. So we continue with our research. Even though I admit the noise is getting, I'm not ashamed to say that, the noise is getting, I wouldn't say unbearable, but it's annoying because I have like drilling non-stop since morning, just all day drilling non-stop. Of course, I know that I'm recording right now, so perhaps we will have like a couple of minutes stop, but it's just around the clock. I'm not even sure they're actually drilling because it's usually you can't drill non-stop. Your drill, will burnt or bent. Maybe they just play the record of the drilling, but it's around, it's continuously. And so, of course, they are angry at me. I don't know why. But all my life they were angry at me without me knowing anything about it. So they torture. I could close the window, and I have done it, but it's very. You can't breathe like that, and the room is full of toxic. Material like laboratory material. So I need some air. I need air. I need to breathe. Literally, I need to breathe. So I open the window and the drilling is just like, it's non-stop. It's only stopped now because of the recording. But it's a life of torture, and the biggest torture, as I said many times, is even not like the physical effect or the so-called subliminal effect that they think that they, somehow, I don't know, conduct. I don't know what's even the right word for satanic psychological effect. But the most horrible thing is the knowledge, then the reminder every time that you are surrounded by people that want you to die, or worse than that, they want to eat you alive, to rape you, to put you in a sanitarium until the rest of your days, when no one will know about you. And that everyone around you, they're not only like fulfilling commands. It's actually their wish, and they can do they do whatever they can in order for that to happen. And of course I believe in God, and God helped me. Without the okay, now so they can't stop for too long before they continue. So they continue, but it's like that all day. So of course God saved me from their clothes. During my entire life, way before I started like my journey of discovering the truth about my life during 2019. But even if you believe 100% that God will save you, and by the way, I said many times, I don't have like a plot armor. I don't have a promise from God. Okay, you will live. I don't know, to see your grandchildren or grandchildren, or to until you are 1,000 years old. So I don't have such a promise, because such a promise would break your free will, and you have free will. You have the right to choose. You can choose to kill me today, and maybe you'll do it. Any day could be my last day, literally. And it's part of your choice, your free will. So no one's got like a free plot armor that no one can knows. What will be his last day, because we all have free will. Not only me, but even more importantly, you, my listeners, that choose to keep me in my torture chamber. Forever and ever, because I'm locked here. I'm literally a prisoner in this room, and surrounded by physical torture all day long. And you have the right to choose, and maybe eventually the Israelis will have their way. They've had their way many times in the past. They always got punished, but they don't really care. Anyway, you want to see some empirical evidence, right? But even though I don't really know, beside curiosity, and I don't know if you guys share my curiosity regarding this world, because, you would have thought that, when you see all those videos and photographs, you know that they are not fake, because you see me actually produce it, and you know that there is no way for me to fake it, and you actually understand most of it much better than I am, and you understand the implications, and yet you don't move. An arm or a leg is not moved. just talks, just mouths and tongues, and you ask yourself, what can you do more? I mean, by every possible human standard, you've conducted, a huge series of miracles. I mean, whatever the definition of miracle might be, of course, it's matter of definition, but I mean, in the simplest way, I danced with bears in your circus all my life, and I continue to do it, and that's part of the circus happening right now. I mean, you have to you have to invent new. I mean, to not to invent. You have to procure new evidence that under normal circumstances could worth a Nobel Prize in physics or biology, but and you have to procure it every day just in order for them to maybe ask the Israelis to torture you just a little less so you might survive another day. That's part of the circus, and that's you have to understand that anyone in my position would have been much more angry about humanity than I am, and way before I reached to this place. But eventually, with all my patience, and I'm sure that and maybe I'm not the nicest person in the world, and maybe no one. It's not that everybody what needs to like me. I mean, I'm a human being, and part of being a human being is that I have tastes and I have preferences, and some people like me, some people don't. But I assure that no messenger that they could have sent you would have been like more patient than I am, because other messengers of my species would have been much less patient. But I've reached the end, and I said right now, I don't see any hope besides replacement of humanity with a more evolved, morally evolved, also physically, but more importantly, morally evolved species. Because the way you treat a foreigner is the way you will treat other foreigners. And you've already had your chance to show how you treat foreigners that you regard as lower than you are, and you treated them like Nazis. And you have the chance to show how you treat foreigners that you know that are technologically and culturally higher than you are, and you treated them like Nazis. So, what can you do? So, but I continue to do my work, and I said it again, maybe just for future, for the future, like synthetic humans, more evolved humans that will populate the Earth, and they will also face more struggles, and they will need to see exactly, the timeline of how humanity shot itself in the head. And it's mostly, the timeline mostly consists of talking, but there were plenty of it, speaking, moving tongues, and I've said so long ago. It will never be solved by movement of tongues and lips, only by movement of arms and legs. I said it, long time ago, because I understood. The people that I'm surrounded. These people will have no value for words at all. They will lie and they will betray. It's certain. It was certain to me that they have no responsibility. That they don't care about anything at all. And yet, the talking continues. Perhaps you tell yourself, okay, so what if you told us something regarding how to treat the Israelis? Why should we listen to you? You're just a child. And we are, expert in diplomacy. You can't tell us how to treat the Israelis. It's our profession, diplomacy in politics, and what do you know? So, the answer is simple. Maybe I do know a little bit. And maybe I'm in contact with those who sent me that knows they've been more than a bit. Maybe they, maybe the entities that created me, a creature that contains in his body billions of entities that each of them individually could exist outside of the body and individually without dependence on the host, which is me, and without dependence on on any other of the entities, even though they can fully cooperate very, very well. It's not that they can cooperate, they cooperate very well, but even independently, each of those billions can create works of art or craft or machines, whatever you want to call them, that are far superior in complexity to anything that humanity in its entirety has ever done. And you understand that, I am a machine, that contains billions of such machines, independent machines, that each is not only is more advanced than anything that humanity has ever done, but each of them can independently create things that each of them is more advanced than anything that humanity have ever done. And you understand that my creator is still here. Helping me and in contact with me, you understand it. And yet you think that for some reason, this creator, which is more intelligent than you by millions of times, you think that he doesn't know how to deal with Israelis. It's only you, the masters of diplomacy. This, ladies and gentlemen, is called ego, and it was always Achilles heel of humanity, but now it's going to end humanity. So let's talk about, let's about technology, okay? You probably want me to speak about technology, so I'll do it. So, as you remember last time, we used I opened the red can, and okay, they started again. They don't like me to speak about science. So I opened the red plastic can, and which contained the dried, very dry and thin remnant layer of oil, of red painting oil. And also it contained the semen, of course, and a little bit of microbes, like for the mold colonies. And it contained, not the new ones, the old one, which is, like 2 weeks old now. And also it contained this strip of silicone, which I placed like in a V shape because I wanted it to be like, it fitted, I didn't want it to be like one line because I wanted like to have a place for other things in the dish. So I created it like that. And it will be relevant in any moment, this information. And we have seen together that, the Neros, it was, as I said, they created magnificent things from using the silicon, the modified silicon, MS polymer. It's a modified silicon, according to definition, under the sellotape, under the thin duct layer, and it was wonderful. So after that, I thought to myself, okay, let's check if they also created things in the thin dry red oil layer. And I knew that it would be more difficult for them because it was, it almost contained no liquid at all, only just, tiny bits of liquid. So it was very difficult for me to actually scrape tiny bits of liquid. But eventually, so I managed to create like on one slide 3 cubes, like 3 standard cubes that equivalent in size with 3 covers, standard covers of thin material. And I also, what I did is I've added a little bit linseed oil, which is a solvent that I use in my art, which is very similar to the actual oil paint. Usually I don't use it much. Usually I use, as I said, liquid or other brand materials or turpentine, but I have a little bit of linseed oil, and this is actually very similar to the oil itself, without the pigment. And the reason for that was to dissolve some of the very hard stuff, so it will be thin. It will be liquid enough to be put under the microscope, because it requires to be a little bit transparent for this kind of microscopy, backlight microscopy. And also, I wanted the slide not to be too dry, because from my experience now, if it's too dry, then the cover does not stick, because the cover, it sticks just like that, on top of the liquid material, on top of the slide. It's not like you don't stick it with sellotape as I did until now. In the non-laboratory way. So I wanted to have a little like medium for it to stick. And also, I thought that that was a very long shot, and I mean, it can't happen, but I mean, maybe it's a good practice for next time. I thought that, I mean, if I want to see movement and I want to prove movement, I mean, it's very difficult to prove movement by just watching under the microscope, because most microbes, I mean, are either very slow or they just move. They don't even move. I mean, without kind of a flow. So I mean, the best way to prove movement and to prove like the fact that they are actually alive, whatever definition of alive you might choose, is to show tracks, as we have already seen in one sample. Even though I understandably you probably want more of those, even though it was amazing one, the one in the thumbnail of the fourth black oil sample. So I thought let's create. I mean, if we want to be able to see tracks, we need some, I mean, liquid material, because I mean, without liquid material, how could you? I mean, you need at least the oil to be a little wet for tracks to be created. Just like humans create tracks with their feet. I mean, only if there is some kind of moisture in the ground, or alternatively, if it's like if there is other stuff like sand or like trees. But I mean, on just ground, you need it to be a little wet. So I'll say that, I mean, we'll soon, just in a moment, we'll look under the microscope, and you will see there. It's possible to I mean, positively identify a bunch of lifeforms inside the oil, the red oil, which is amazing, and I mean, also expected on the basis of what we've seen with the black oil. But I mean, I don't think that we will be. There wasn't many, and because it was very easy, difficult to scrape. Like, as I said, it was a very dry and thin oil, not like in the case of the black and white. The black and white petri dishes, but we've seen. So we didn't see much. I didn't see much life. I will show you in a minute. But I don't think it will be. It's feasible to believe. I mean, it's feasible that we will see any living creature over there, because it was so dry, and I mean, there aren't many anyway. But it gives me an idea for the next. Like I have more like cans, plastic cans, and glass cans, and with this stuff that I can. I mean, maybe even right now I'll add a little bit of oil to the mixture to make it more oily, and I mean, it gives you an idea for the future. And I've already have things like brewing, and of course I'll have many more. But actually, the most interesting stuff was discovered without. I've saved the best I mean, it's not the end of the video, because we need to look under the microscope. But before that, I will say that the most interesting stuff actually in this plastic can, I mean, besides what we've already showed you with the silicone and under the sellotape, the most interesting stuff was the large entities and the mega large entities. And this is quite amazing. So let's start with the large entities. When I scrutinized, I mean, looked very well, like with my bare eyes, I mean, naked eyes, inside the can, I have noticed that there are clearly like mega structures over there. Megastructure is what I call the name of like very big organisms. That are clearly artificial. I mean, that they weren't there, because if they were there, I would have remembered. I mean, and it was sealed, and I didn't put anything like that. I only pulled like a little bit of mold. I mean, the best megastructures that I've found until yet was the ones that I found on the open petri dish. I mean, if you remember, I mean, the ones that I asked you, what do you think they are made of? Because it looks like they're made out of steel or aluminum, and they were also very, very big. You can even see one or two of them with the naked eye. I mean, and what was so great about it also is that they were created on top of the bare glass. So it was. I mean, you can easily see it. I mean, you can easily view them in the microscope, and I mean, you've seen photographs. But those guys that I've seen here, they were created on top of the red oil. So it's impossible, I've tried, but it's impossible to see them with this kind of microscopy because their background is just too thick. And it's impossible for me to separate them from the background, but I will show you with best of I can with the iPhone camera. I mean, what I speak about. I don't know if you see, this one is clearly an organism, and this one also is an organism. It contains a hook. The hook is part of the organism. It's not something that created by chance. I mean, I looked at it very closely, and it's an organism. And this is also a very big organism. And here we see a couple of big organisms. They are all like cemented in the layer of dried red oil paint, and they can be separated even though they are clearly separated from it. I mean, as you see, I mean, I tried and I separated a little bit was separated. So I mean, it's different. It's like a megastructure that is built on top of the layer. It's not part of it. I mean, with chirurgical tools and knowledge and expertise, you could have separated, and then you would be. If I would have been, I mean, if it was possible for me to do it, we could have watched them under the microscope. But I don't have the tools nor the knowledge, nor the skill. But I will, of course, save this great evidence. And I mean, I'm sure that one day someone with the right tools will be able to separate the organism from the background, and then it will be wonderful to watch them under not even microscope, even a magnification lens would be amazing in this case. But unfortunately, I don't have one. I don't have a magnification lens, but even that would have been very, very nice. So now that's what we can do. But yet again, that was even not the greatest thing. And there is even thing that was even more amazing and new to me. And this is, if those are megastructures, then how do we call something that is bigger than a megastructure? What's bigger than mega? Gigastructure. So there is actually a gigastructure inside the can, and it is very easy. I mean, when you search for it, I mean, the place where it is found is to me it was unexpected. So initially I didn't look there. But if I thought about it, and from now on I will always think about it, you could have identified it just in a moment because it's freaking huge. So this is something that is very easy to see because it's so huge. And what I speak about is the following. So the Neros looked at my V-shaped silicon strip, and they thought to themselves, this is clearly a model for us. A model for what? Chilazon. How do you say chilazon in English? Oh, I forgot the name of chilazon. It's like a worm. It's kind of a worm. For a big worm. Okay? And this is, and indeed, it looks like a worm, and it's even got the consistency and texture of a worm. So they started to create a giant worm next to it, but they didn't have like the resources or time or number to actually create it. So they created only a drawing of it, but an incredibly nice drawing on top of the plastic itself. And when you actually look on the plastic bottom of the can and not on the red paint or the other material, you see it right away, and it's huge, and it's clearly supposed to be a clone. Now watch. Do you see those two machoshim? How do you say machoshim? Like antennas. You see the two antennas? Just a moment, I'll use more light. Just a second. So these are the two antennas. And you see also the body. I'm not. It's. I mean, in the naked eye, using the naked eye, it's very clear. But I'm not sure that it passes in the camera. It's quite big. Maybe I'll change angle. Okay, from this angle it's better. Yes, now you can see the curvature of its body. Yes, now you see. Now you see the complete curve. You see, they drawed a nice drawing, and even with the body also has the texture of a worm, of this worm, but they thought to be a worm. Another example of their exquisite symbolic thought, because of course it's not a worm, but they know how worm look like, so they created a worm with antennas that is about actually the size of the silicone strap. Here, now we can see it better. You see the texture? Amazing. Perhaps it continues a little bit. I mean, the tail continues under the layer of the red. I didn't want to remove the red paint too much because I didn't want to. I already like scraped a lot of as you see, there are many scraps that I created just to in search of liquid material for the slide, and so I didn't want to ruin it too much. But this is clearly a drawing of the worm, even with the actual the texture of the body of a worm. Just animate it again. Here, yes. Very nice. Okay. So, next, before we finish, we will do a quick check of the material in the slides. I mean, we worked hard to prepare it, so we might as well use it, right? So I need the magnification which is not the smallest because they're not big, large life forms. As I said, it's not as impressive, nearly as impressive as the one that we saw on the silicon, and also not as impressive as many that we saw on like other mediums like cement and P. Wait a second, I'll clean this stuff. Just a second, but I will clean just a second. I don't want it to be. Okay. As you see, the drilling just continues all day long. That's my Via Dolorosa, but it never ends. God, please stop this. Get me out of this hell. Okay. So this is a life form. Just a second. That was a Nero. We can see several Neros in this slide. This is a thick layer, relatively thick layer of paint. Here are more forms, like not very developed ones, but there are life forms here. This is not only a drawing, but no, it's actually a sculpture. And this looks like a little worm or I don't know, a microbe. Okay, so the setup is not very good with this camera. So maybe I will get back to this slide later with the Olympus Panem camera. There isn't. I already looked at it, and there is no tone to see here actually, because as I said, it's only a very thin layer, and it was mostly very dry. But I mean, it was clearly demonstrated that there are life forms in the red. Let's check. Let's try it with. Let's zoom out a little bit. Maybe it will be more constructive with the smaller magnification. Okay. Perhaps this will be. This okay, another like star-shaped microbe. Wait, no, we did the reverse. Sorry, it's a long video, so I got confused. Let's get now just a quick review of the third cover, like the third part of the slide. Maybe we'll find something there. No, it's not. It's not. It doesn't even. Allow you to get to the end of that to the border of the south of the slide actually. Just a second, because I've seen it here. Let's come. Okay. So we can see we have some stuff here. It was demonstrated that the red material contains stuff, but it was just too dry to see a lot. And maybe some more here. They also like to give me many clues. Israelis in general and the neighbor in particular. Clues are the thing that I need. I always say I want to be rescued from the Nazi prison, but instead of that, I am given clues all of my life. Signs. I've been given a sign. This is like a rod-shaped life form. Okay, so I think that we have demonstrated that there were already, in addition to the large megastructure and gigastructures, there could also be found a little bit of small life forms like the ones that we are used to inside the on top of and inside the dried red paint. But in order to get better results, we must use the next time. We must use oil which is more, contains higher, they consist of more actual linseed oil, and this could even be done now. Perhaps I will reinforce the current. I have quite a bit of closed samples on the shelf, so with that contains, among other stuff, oil paint. So perhaps I'll reinforce them now with the linseed oil, so the neos that presumably work there now will be able to work better for the rest of the time until I actually open those cans. Okay, thank you very much.